Summer Moon Utah Wells was reported missing June 15th of 2021 around 6:30 p.m. when her father, Don Wells, called 911 and advised that Summer's mother, Candus Bly, had gone for a walk, and when she came back, Summer was gone. Summer is a truly beautiful, straight blonde-haired, bright blue-eyed 6-year-old girl. She was 5 at the time of her disappearance, although she was initially reported as 4 years old, and her head was shaved. At one point, her head was shaved down to the skin. Some speculate this could be because of a different reason than what Don and Candus say. On WJHL News Channel 11, Candus says Summer was a tomboy, so she wanted to have her head shaved like her and the boys did. But Don says Candus shaved her own head so Summer wouldn't feel bad. So did Candus have her head shaved first and Summer wanted to be like her and the boys, or did Candus shave her head so Summer wouldn't feel bad? Which one is it? Don says Summer tried to cut her hair herself, so they just shaved it off and let it grow back long. So we didn't get a clear answer as to why Summer's head was shaved. In my opinion, it's possible that it could have been as a punishment or a way to get rid of her blue hair. Does anyone that's listening know around the time frame Summer had blue hair? Is that around the same time that her head was shaved? Candus says she does not go on walks or runs around there because she is afraid of the bears, snakes, and coyotes. So, did Candus go for a walk or a run as dispatch relayed June 15th of 2021 around 6:30 p.m.? Could Candus have walked to a neighbor's house? Is it possible Candus walked to a neighbor's house and another neighbor saw her leave, or someone saw her leave and took Summer? Maybe there was a miscommunication with Ronnie Lawson about who had gone for a walk. I remember Ronnie Lawson saying Summer went for a walk and got a little further than the parents expected. Leslie Earhart of the TBI says Summer was last seen in the 100 block of Ben Hill Road, which could be many places. Ben Hill Road is long and there are a lot of homes in the 100 block. There is a lot of space between homes. According to the TBI, the circumstances leading up to Summer's disappearance remain actively under investigation. Summer was reported as 3 feet tall. The average height of a 5-year-old girl is 3.5 feet tall. That's a big difference. I believe Summer was closer to 3.5 feet tall. Summer was also reported as weighing 40 pounds. The average weight of a 5-year-old girl is about 40 pounds. It would make sense, considering how thin Summer was, that she was actually nearly 3.5 feet tall and probably about 40 pounds, if not maybe a little less. I doubt Summer was only 3 feet tall, or she would have been less than 40 pounds for sure because she was so thin. I would love to see an age progression photo done of Summer. Summer was reported to have last been seen in a pink shirt and gray pants, and I have always assumed that was what she was wearing in the alleged last photo of her. Candus says this alleged photo taken of Summer was taken at 3:09 p.m., June 15th, 2021, the day Summer disappeared. To me, this photo is suspicious because we can hear who is alleged to be Summer's grandmother, Candace Harrer, in the background saying no. And the way she says it sounds grim. It's not like, no, her arm's not up, no. It's not like that. It's like, no. Like, oh my God, no, it's not. It is in reply to Candus asking, is her arm still up? That is in the video that was allegedly accidentally taken before the photo, which can be found on YouTube. I have concerns that her arm was possibly broken after an accident had occurred, and that's why Candus asks if it was still up. An Amber Alert was issued for Summer at 12 a.m., June 16, 2021, as she was believed to be in imminent danger. The TBI states, an individual who travels through the area regularly as part of his job stated that he recalls possibly seeing a 1998 to 2000 maroon or red Toyota Tacoma with a full bed ladder rack and white buckets in the truck bed. The individual stated that the truck might have been parked in the area of Beach Creek Road and Ben Hill Road in the late afternoon to early evening on either Monday, June 14th or Tuesday, June 15th. That vehicle was not captured on surveillance cameras. In an effort to cover all bases and identify the driver, the TBI, in agreement with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the FBI, released the vehicle description. Our hope was that the individual might have information that could help with the investigation. The driver has not come forward, nor have the hundreds of vehicles reported to us as matching the description panned out. I wonder what conversations they have had with Jody about the red truck she was alleged to have access to around the time of Summer's disappearance. I wonder if Tim Mullen has told the TBI about his red truck. This is on tbinewsroom.com. When the TBI was asked, "Have you collected and reviewed surveillance video?" The TBI replies, "Yes, we've collected surveillance photos and videos from a variety of locations. Additionally, the entire area was canvassed in an effort to locate any residential cameras that weren't voluntarily reported. Please keep in mind that the Beach Creek area of Hawkins County is very rural, with few businesses and no traffic cameras, which leads me to believe that the TBI has surveillance of Summer, and there is a reason they have not publicly shared that footage. Typically, in a missing child's case, if there is surveillance footage of the child, that will be shown to the media unless it is to protect the integrity of the investigation, that they don't. In Don's interview on The Hill on WJHL, Don says they gotta do their, I can't think of the word, and Candus says, investigation. That was a potential red flag to me because it made me feel like Don was trying to distance himself from the investigation. I also want to know if the TBI truly got all the surveillance footage, because everything we need to know could be on some surveillance that was removed from the property. It could potentially be that Tim or Jody have removed potential digital evidence from Beach Creek. They were both there and had access, and when it was asked where the footage from that day is, it's been said that the cameras were not recording that day. How can that be? That can't be a coincidence. When the TBI was asked, when was Summer last seen? The TBI says, her mother reports last seeing her on the afternoon of June 15th at their home in the 100 block of Ben Hill Road. In order to preserve the integrity of the investigation, we will not provide additional information regarding the timeline. Posted to tbinewsroom.com 11/15/22. TBI says, the investigation into the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of Summer Wells remains active and ongoing. In order to preserve the integrity of the investigation, we cannot discuss specifics. Unfortunately, we have no new updates to provide publicly. Should we develop new information that could help in locating Summer, we will notify the news media and the public immediately. Previously, the TBI stated the circumstances leading to Summer's disappearance remain unclear. Now, the TBI states the investigation into the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of Summer Wells remains active and ongoing, which gives me hope that they have leads and that they just cannot let us know that they do. Otherwise, I feel they would have not said anything at all. They kept the update very short and sweet, and I think that was their way of saying, look, we're on to something, but we can't say right now that we're on to something because it will mess up the case potentially. This is the update from TBI Newsroom from June 15th of 2022. At approximately 6:30 p.m. on June 15th, 2021, Summer Wells was reported missing from her home on Ben Hill Road in the Beach Creek community of Hawkins County. At that time, no one imagined we would still be searching for her a year later. We've said from the beginning that this case is outside the norm. So it's already not normal to have a missing child, and then let alone for that to be outside the norm is just, it must be something really crazy going on. There are a few clues, which means there are some, as to what happened to Summer, despite investigators doing everything within their power to find answers. All possibilities are still being explored. Many of you have asked for details about what's been done in the last year. We can tell you that agents and detectives have worked thousands of hours on this case. Numerous search warrants have been executed. Cell phone data has been analyzed, and any other available digital evidence has been collected, searched, and documented. This includes the social media accounts for those associated with Summer. 3 large-scale ground searches have taken place in the last year with the assistance of more than 100 local, state, and federal agencies. Those searches don't account for the numerous other targeted searches that agents and detectives have done while following up on potential leads. From TBI alone, more than 100 agents, intelligence analysts, and support staff from across the state have been involved in this case. TBI agents working alongside the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the FBI have conducted nearly 170 interviews during the investigation, and that was June 15th of 2022. That does not count the hundreds of phone calls made to follow up on tips reported to law enforcement that were the result of non-factual information posted on social media. While investigators have been diligently working to find answers, they've had to deal with hundreds of tips generated by false information that, in some cases, has been intentionally spread across social media platforms. To date, we've received well over 2,000 tips. The vast majority of those pertain to rumors and speculation. We know that this case has attracted the attention of many across the country who genuinely care about Summer and want nothing more than to help find answers. And we appreciate the interest. Hi, Lestiana. How are you, hon? Hi, Palm Patrol. You're such a good mod, Lestiana. You got all the information. However, we are also aware that some individuals are using this case for their own personal gain by spreading false information on social media posed as facts. Some go as far as to solicit donations. This has had a major impact on the investigation. Moving forward, we ask the public not to submit tips as a result of a video you have viewed on YouTube or a theory you've seen posted on Facebook. Please help us and only call if you have direct, specific information about the disappearance of Summer Wells. We can't begin to express our gratitude for the support and assistance from the Hawkins County community and surrounding areas. The Mount Carmel Free Will Baptist Church provided the location for a command post during all 3 large-scale searches. Numerous organizations and businesses made sure search teams and investigators had food, drinks, and other supplies. The contributions of the members of each rescue squad and volunteer fire department within Hawkins County simply can't be measured. We also appreciate the cooperation of the property owners in Beach Creek, most of which gave us whatever access we needed. Most of which, they said, so some did not. We want to assure everyone who has been part of this investigation or who has been following this case that it is not cold. We continue to follow up on potential leads, and we will not give up on finding Summer. I always feel a little bit of hope when I read this on the TBI newsroom. I imagine how Summer would look now. She's probably a lot bigger than when she was reported missing. If there has been an accident, I believe Summer is within a half hour of her home, because how could they have time for anything else? The TBI took cell phone data, and I'm sure by now they've got all that back and revised. The people who had access to Summer would have been her neighbors and her family, and anyone that would have been driving by or been over at the Wells property around the time of her disappearance, which we know to be, allegedly, Grandma Candy, Candus, and Summer's 3 brothers. Don was allegedly at work about an hour away in the meadows. There was nobody else over, according to Grandma, Candus, and Don. Jody Sue Brown was home at the time of Summer's disappearance, according to her, with her children. The children's father, Andy, was allegedly at work and arrived home right around the time of Summer's disappearance, around the same time Don got home, allegedly. Visit Sage Sleuth for Jody Sue Brown related content. She has a lot of great work. Jody Sue Brown was Summer's neighbor across the street on Ben Hill Road, if you weren't aware. She swears she heard a scream the day Summer disappeared between 4:30 and 4:42 p.m., but Sheriff Ronnie Lawson says her claims are unfounded. All right, I had to check and see if there was sound on that real quick. Sorry. All right, I had to check and see if there was sound on that real quick. Sorry.
Shortly before they joined the search for a now missing Summer Wells.
It's there, but you want to forget.
On the watch.
So this is Jody Sue Brown on the news on WJHL News, and you can go to, if you get on YouTube and just look up WJHL Jody Sue Brown, it'll pop right up.
And hypervigilant. That's how Jody Sue Brown was the very day Summer Wells went.
So Jody Sue Brown was hypervigilant the day Summer Wells went missing. Imagine that.
Missing.
There's no TV, no noise at all.
Jody Sue was in her cabin with her teenage kids, 19 and 14, waiting for anything.
So Jody Sue Brown was sitting in her cabin with her two kids, allegedly, when...
Kind of hyper alert because of property things that had happened the day before.
She was hyper alert because of property things that happened the day before. So that must have been with things that were going on with Jackie Dobbs that she's talking about, because Jackie Dobbs is the man that came down there and bought the property that seeped over onto her property a little bit. So she was having a dispute with him over the land.
So we were listening for noise. Everything was kind of quiet.
The sale brought a plethora of people to their door, confused about which piece of land was for sale, leading to a dispute of property lines.
And you know that just had to drive her nuts, if you can imagine Jody Sue being hypervigilant and alert and aware, and there's all these people coming to her door for this land, wondering, were all those people interviewed by the TBI too? I'm just asking. It's just something that I just randomly thought of. All the people that came to look at the land that day.
While we were out at one point doing survey lines, and there was a flash of a car that went up Candus and Donnie's driveway. Something about it struck me wrong.
She and her family next heard a...
So there's something about it just struck her wrong. But I think it's more of, well, I don't know if I want to say, really.
Truck door slamming.
I think it's more of if she has anything to do with that red truck, I'm telling you, this is her trying to be like, no, I know it wasn't the red truck that I was possibly driving because I saw it and it, obviously it wasn't me. I saw it. It couldn't have been that red truck.
And dismissed it as their neighbors. The next sound was harder to justify. About an hour and a half before Summer is thought to go missing, Jody Sue, her son, and her daughter heard something.
There's a little, who is that, Zuma? There for Summer up on a street sign. They put a little Paw Patrol up there for Summer because she was said to love Paw Patrol.
Something far more suspicious. A scream.
Stopped all three of us cold.
Her daughter was the...
So apparently this scream stopped her son, and her daughter cold, but they didn't run out and check and see what it was. But it was so shrill that it stopped them cold.
First to go to the cabin door. Then all three were there, listening still.
We heard just this kind of shrill, almost animalistic scream.
And
so I feel like when he says that, he almost kind of smirks a little bit.
Kind of shrill, almost animalistic scream.
Animalistic,
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's just me in my head.
Not an animal.
Knew it was, wrong. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't an animal.
That vigilance kicking into overdrive. Jody Sue and her son went out to look for the source of the scream.
My son and I decided.
But Jody didn't go out right away. Not right away to look for the source of that scream. Nope. She had to wait for a while first, because it wasn't until she heard people yelling for Summer that she put two and two together.
Decided to go out, look and see what we could see. We went back onto the bank. Didn't see anything. Didn't hear anything.
They went on with their evening. The kids returned to being kids. Jody Sue headed down her driveway around 6 to tend to flowers.
And
Isn't that ironic how Jody Sue says that she was tending to her flowers, and also that day that Candus says they were tending to flowers, even though it wasn't actually flowers. They both call it that.
At this point, I start hearing Candus hollering for Summer. And then my brain immediately went, scream earlier, this, uh-oh.
Jody Sue was the first to hear those calls, and
the way that Jody says that, uh-oh, makes me feel like she's lying.
To join the search for Summer.
I dropped my purse. I tried to yell up at Candus. I was like, I'm looking, and I started looking.
Jody Sue searched one side.
And she's looking, and I started looking. So that makes me feel like she'd already been there looking before she said she was.
Side of a creek, Summer's brother's the opposite side. And you gave statements to the police, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Jody Sue had been interviewed many times by investigators,
Can you imagine being an investigator interviewing Jody Sue?
Up the scream often. But the sheriff doesn't believe the scream is related to the disappearance of Summer Wells.
So she apparently brought up the scream often when she was being interviewed. So she really wanted to drill it in their heads that she heard a scream at 4:30 to 4:42 p.m. that day.
She's been interviewed numerous times by not only my agency, but the TBI and the FBI, and we don't find anything with that complaint.
See, even Ronnie Lawson says it's unfounded, Jody.
Or information related to this case.
Jody Sue wishes she could go back to just a short time before Summer disappeared and before the scream she believes was Summer.
I wish every day that when I heard that scream, I hadn't tried to dismiss it.
If you heard a scream that was that shrill and animalistic, why would you try to dismiss it? Instead of, I mean, I don't know. If it was me, I wouldn't just try and dismiss something like that. I'd be like, babe, come out here. You know what I'm saying? I'd be getting my husband, and I'd be figuring out what was going on right away.
Referencing the work of the FBI, TBI, and his own deputies, Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson reiterated in an interview the same week as Jody Sue's that investigators have found absolutely no proof that an abduction has taken place.
So they've found absolutely no proof that an abduction has taken place, but at the same time, the circumstances leading up to her disappearance still remain unclear to me and to the public, and possibly even to the TBI still. So, Listiana, this poor child has had an amazingly hard life. God bless her and her Aunt Candus's sister that went missing as well. God bless her. She looks like she had a bad life as well. There's so many child predators, SA offenders, Don's Uncle Don. So, I mean, there's something going on for two people to go missing, and you don't party and hee-haw and this and that when your child is missing. Right, exactly. I should probably do a live on Rosemary Bly too, because I don't see how there could be two people missing in the same family and the family doesn't have anything to do with either one of them. That is really defying the odds. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't just happen. You don't just have a child go missing, let alone a child go missing and your sister's missing, or your granddaughter and your daughter's missing. That doesn't happen. And the family didn't have anything to do with it, because we know statistics. So you have it happen twice, but you didn't have nothing to do with it. I don't think so. I feel like here I'm going to give my opinion, which I am nervous about doing usually, but I think that there was probably some kind of accident because just the way Don acts in general, I believe that there was a cover up. But I have hope that Summer is still alive. Okay, I need to find my spot where I was at. Summer's other neighbors haven't spoken out on social media. We have heard from one of her other neighbors, Don Sherfy Sr., who has a sex offender son, Don Sherfy Jr. He spoke out to the protesters on Ben Hill Road when they were there in February of 2022, I believe it was. No one in Beech Creek has really spoken out. Huh? Oh, here. We have only heard... I love you, babe. We've only heard a very few words from a couple people on Beech Creek. Fred Hill is said to be a dangerous man. He has spoken to Ziggy, and those interviews are pretty long. He lives very close to 110 Ben Hill Road, which is Summer's address. Frank Light also lives near 110 Ben Hill Road. Jody Sue says certain people on YouTube could get someone killed in Beech Creek for the things they do, making it seem like a dangerous place. Don has referred to Beech Creek as a hotspot for drugs. Ronnie Lawson says it's not. He refers to it as just an old dead-end road. Ronnie Lawson makes it seem like what Don's saying is not true. You know what I'm saying? Like what one's saying, the other one says the opposite, it seems like. And in the beginning, he said they were cooperating, but then he said they weren't cooperating. So it's hard to know with him. Another thing I would like to know is when Sheriff Ronnie Lawson, I just thought of this randomly, when he was asked at the press conference back, I think it was on June 18th of 2021, if Don's criminal record was irrelevant, and he said no. So it's not, his criminal record is not irrelevant. I think that's a big deal. That's just my opinion. But he could have misheard the question and meant that it is irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, Jackie Dobbs. He was also around with his wife at the time of Summer's disappearance. He was said to be, I believe, if I remember correctly, at a roadway inn in Churchill around 6:30 p.m. June 15th of 2021. Jody Sue was trying to get Jackie Dobbs out of Beech Creek because she didn't want him on the land that he bought that seeped over onto her land a little bit. Jody allegedly wanted, which that land wasn't even hers. Jody allegedly wanted the Wells' land and property as well, and even thought she already had it at one point, allegedly. This would be motivation and explain why Jody has all the land surveys and lines memorized, and every nook and cranny of information about that land. Jody knows it, or thinks she knows it, and has an answer for any question about Beech Creek. I believe it's safe to say Jody is obsessed with Beech Creek, and she thought it was about to own, she was about to own enough land to basically not have neighbors and own Beech Creek. It's unclear what she was planning to do with the land. This could potentially be motivation for getting Summer off the hill and the reason for her disappearance in an attempt to get the entire Wells family off the hill. This is all my opinion, of course. It could be in retaliation for not getting the land after Don moved back from Utah, and when Jackie Dobbs came, maybe Jody snapped. It would make sense, but of course, that is just speculation. Summer Moon Utah Wells is still missing, and there are still many suspects. Hey, Mimi Jean. So that was Summer Moon Utah Wells Part 2, some extra stuff that I had written that I figured, why not go live and read it off? And I was kind of starting to get into Jody Sue, because I feel like she's a big suspect and I think she needs talked about, and I need to talk about her more because I think she is probably one of the main suspects at this point in Summer's case. And besides Dawn, of course, and Candus, but that's just my opinion. And I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you for your support and thank you for being here. And I really appreciate all your comments, Lestiana, and I hope I'm saying your name right. Um, Whenever you come in here, you're always leaving these informative, long comments, and I appreciate that a lot. Like, you should just go live yourself, you know what I mean? And say all this because it sounds like you're really smart and have a lot of insight. Um, Merry Christmas to you too, Mimi. Merry Christmas, you guys. I'm gonna go. I need something to drink. But I will be back live tomorrow. All right. Love, love.